Oh, geez. Rick, I was watching this video online and they said I should invest my money, but also that I should pay off my house faster. And now I'm super confused about what to do with extra money, and I think I'm having a panic attack.
Oh, for the love of Morty, you don't even own a house. You live with your parents. What do you even... Okay, you know what? Fine, sit down, because apparently the education system has failed you so spectacularly that I need to explain basic financial concepts to someone whose biggest financial decision is whether to buy the name brand or store brand chicken nuggets. This is about the classic dilemma that makes every middle-class drone lose sleep at night, Morty. Should you invest your extra cash, or should you throw it at your mortgage like you're trying to smother a fire? And here's the thing that really grinds my gears, Morty. It's not even about the math. It's about the crushing psychological weight of debt that society has programmed into your feeble monkey brains.
But Rick, isn't debt just like numbers on a screen or whatever?
Oh, wow, Morty. Yeah, just numbers on a screen, just like your GPA, just meaningless digits that definitely don't have any real-world consequences. Look, the anxiety around debt is real, okay? It keeps people up at night. It makes them grind their teeth. It ruins marriages, Morty. Even when the math says one thing, the psychological impact of having this massive debt hanging over your head like a sword made of interest rates can make people do irrational things. But we're gonna look at this objectively because unlike most humans, I can actually do math without my amygdala screaming at me. So here's the scenario, and pay attention because I'm only gonna explain this once. Actually, no, I'm gonna have to explain it 6 times because you have the retention span of a goldfish with Alzheimer's. We've got a 30-year mortgage. That's how long most people enslave themselves to a bank, Morty. 3 decades of your life. The interest rate is 7%, which honestly in this economy is pretty standard for people who aren't complete financial disasters. And let's say you've got some extra money every month, maybe $1,000 that you don't need for your avocado toast or whatever pointless garbage millennials buy. Now there are 3 strategies here, Morty, and each one is going to make a different type of financial guru on the internet scream at you. Strategy 1, you invest that extra cash in the market instead of paying down the mortgage faster. Strategy 2, you go full Dave Ramsey mode and throw every spare penny at that mortgage like it personally insulted your mother. And strategy 3, the hybrid approach that I call the F-squared rule, which stands for Freedom Fund rule because apparently everything needs a catchy name or people's brains just slide right off it. Let's talk about investing first, because this is what all the tech bros in their Patagonia vests want you to do. Historically, Morty, and when I say historically, I mean looking at actual data, not some guy's YouTube thumbnail, the stock market has returned about 10% annually over the long term. Now that's an average, which means some years you're up 30% and feeling like a genius, and other years you're down 20% and wondering if you should just stuff cash under your mattress like your paranoid uncle. The beautiful thing about investing, if you can actually stick with it and not panic sell every time the market hiccups, is compound growth. It's literally the only form of magic that actually exists in this dimension, Morty. You put money in, it grows, that growth makes more growth, and if you keep adding to it monthly, especially if you increase how much you add each year, to keep up with inflation or your pathetic cost of living raises, the numbers start getting stupid big. We're talking exponential curves that would make your math teacher weep with joy if they hadn't already given up on you.
Ah, geez, Rick, but how does the mortgage thing even work? Like, don't you just pay it and the number goes down?
Oh, Morty. Oh, sweet summer child. No. No, that's not how these predatory financial instruments work at all. Let me explain amortization to you, which is just a fancy word for how the bank structures the loan so they get paid first. In the early years of your mortgage, Morty, and we're talking like the first decade, almost all of your monthly payment is going to interest. You're basically renting your own house from the bank. You might be paying $2,000 a month and only like $300 of that is actually reducing what you owe. The rest is pure profit for the bank, just sliding into their pockets while you think you're building equity. This is why the mortgage feels like it never goes down in the beginning. You make payments for 5 years, you look at your balance, and you've barely made a dent. It's designed this way, Morty. It's not an accident. The bank front loads all their profits, so even if you sell the house or refinance, they've already extracted maximum value from you like a parasite that went to business school. So when you make extra payments toward the principal, that's the actual amount you owe. You're directly attacking that number instead of just feeding the interest monster. Every dollar of principal you pay off early is a dollar that won't generate interest for the next 20-something years. You want to talk about guaranteed returns? Paying off a 7% mortgage early is like getting a guaranteed 7% return on that money, except it's actually better because you're not paying taxes on money you're saving. You're just not paying it in the first place. If you go aggressive on the prepayment strategy, throwing that $1,000 extra at your mortgage every month, you could cut a 30-year mortgage down to like 15 years, maybe less depending on your numbers. You save an absolutely obscene amount in interest. We're talking potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars that you just don't hand over to the bank. And psychologically, being debt-free is like financial nirvana for a lot of people. They sleep better, they stress less, they feel like they actually own something instead of being owned by their obligations.
But Rick, if investing makes more money than the 7% from the mortgage, shouldn't everyone just invest?
Okay, Morty, this is where we get into the actual honest comparison that most finance influencers skip over because it's complicated and complications don't get clicks. Yes, if the market average is 10% and your mortgage is 7%, math says invest. But we need to factor in real costs. When you invest, you're going to pay taxes on those gains, anywhere from 15 to 37% depending on how the government is feeling and what tax bracket you're in. You might pay fund fees, trading costs, and when you eventually pull that money out, Uncle Sam is there with his hand out. When you pay off your mortgage early, that 7% return is tax-free, it's guaranteed, and there's zero volatility. The market can't crash and take away the interest you didn't have to pay. This is critical, Morty, because here's something called sequence of returns risk that can absolutely destroy your retirement plans. The market might average 10% over 30 years, but if you happen to retire right before a massive crash, your actual returns could be way lower because you're pulling money out when it's down. The order of returns matters just as much as the average return, and this breaks people's brains because they think average equals what they'll actually experience. With mortgage prepayment, you get that 7% equivalent return no matter what the economy is doing. Recession, 7% saved. Bull market, 7% saved. Alien invasion that crashes global markets, still 7% saved assuming we survive and property rights still mean anything. Now here's what happens with each strategy long term, and I'm gonna need you to actually focus here, Morty. If you invest that $1,000 monthly and increase it a bit each year for inflation, in 30 years you could have a massive portfolio. We're talking potentially over $2 million if returns are decent. But you still have your mortgage, so you need to subtract what you owe. Your net position is portfolio minus remaining mortgage debt. If you prepay aggressively, you own your house free and clear in maybe 15 years, then you take that entire monthly payment you were making, which is now probably like $3,000, including what you were paying extra, and you invest all of that for the remaining 15 years. Your net position at year 30 is house paid off plus whatever you accumulated in that second phase of investing. The hybrid approach, my F-squared rule, splits the difference. You take that extra money and divide it between investing and prepayment. Maybe 60-40, maybe 50-50, maybe you base it on your age. Maybe you base it on how much the interest rate is making you feel personally victimized. The point is, you're making progress on both fronts simultaneously.
Wait, so which one wins, Rick? Which strategy makes the most money?
That's the thing, Morty. It depends on so many variables that anyone who gives you a definitive answer is either lying or selling something. Probably both. If you live through great market returns and you invested everything, you're going to come out way ahead. If you live through mediocre returns or a bad sequence, the prepayment strategy might win. The hybrid approach usually lands somewhere in the middle, but with less risk on both ends. Here's my actual framework, and this is based on dimensional analysis across multiple financial timelines, not just whatever some guy with a podcast told you. If your mortgage interest rate is above 6%, you should seriously consider prioritizing prepayment because that guaranteed return is incredibly good in any economic environment. If your interest rate is below 4%, investing probably makes more sense because even with taxes and fees, you're likely to beat that over time. If you're between 4 and 6%, this is hybrid territory, Morty. This is where the F-squared rule shines. But there's more to consider than just the math. And this is where I'm going to blow your mind with actual wisdom instead of just calculations. Do you have an emergency fund? Because if you dump all your extra cash into your mortgage, that money is locked in your house. You can't pay for a new transmission with equity, Morty. Wells Fargo doesn't accept home equity for groceries. You need liquid savings that you can actually access. Are you maxing out retirement accounts with employer matches? Because if your company matches your 401k contributions, that's literally free money, and only a complete moron would skip free money to pay down a mortgage faster. That match is an instant 100% return. Nothing beats that, not even my portal gun technology. Do you have high interest debt like credit cards? Because if you're carrying credit card debt at 20% interest while debating whether to invest or prepay a 7% mortgage, I have serious questions about your decision-making process and possibly your fitness to operate heavy machinery. What's your risk tolerance? And I don't mean what you think it is. I mean how you actually react when your portfolio drops 30% in a year. A lot of people think they're risk tolerant until they watch their life savings evaporate in real time, then they panic sell at the bottom like idiots. If debt keeps you up at night, if you check your mortgage balance obsessively, if the psychological burden is affecting your quality of life, then prepay the mortgage, Morty. Peace of mind has value even if it's not optimal on a spreadsheet. Here's the dirty secret that the financial services industry doesn't want you to know. Personal finance is personal. Revolutionary concept. I know. Your optimal strategy depends on your income stability, your career trajectory, your age, your goals, your risk tolerance, your tax situation, whether you're planning to stay in the house or move, a million different variables that are unique to your specific circumstances. The people who scream that you must invest and never prepay are usually selling investment products or clicks to their channel. The people who scream you must prepay and never invest are usually selling a specific emotional narrative about debt freedom. They both have incentives to be absolutist because nuance doesn't get engagement. My actual advice, and this is probably the smartest thing you'll hear all week, is to design your life first and then make the financial decisions support that life. What do you actually want, Morty? Do you want to retire early? Then you probably need to invest aggressively. Do you want security and the freedom from monthly payments? Then prepayment might be your path. Do you want to start a business and need flexibility? Keep your money liquid. Do you want to travel the world? Your house is just going to sit there whether you own it or not. The worst thing you can do is optimize for the wrong goals because some influencer with a Lamborghini told you that's what winners do. You can make all the mathematically correct decisions and still be miserable if those decisions don't align with what you actually value. And before you ask, no, Morty, I don't value anything except science and occasionally not dying, but I'm a bad example for literally everything. So here's your action plan, and try to write this down without drooling on the paper. First, build your emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of expenses and a boring savings account. Second, max out any retirement contributions that get you employer matches. Again, free money. Third, pay off any high-interest debt because that's a guaranteed high return. Fourth, now you get to the interesting choice between investing extra and mortgage prepayment. If you're young, have a stable income, high risk tolerance, and a low mortgage rate, lean toward investing. If you're older, have income uncertainty, anxiety about debt, and a high mortgage rate, lean toward prepayment. If you're anywhere in the middle, use the hybrid approach. Start with something like 50-50 and adjust based on how you feel and what the market does. There's no rule that says you have to pick one strategy and stick with it forever like you're married to it. You could prepay aggressively for 5 years, then switch to investing. You can invest for 10 years, then focus on knocking out the mortgage. You can adjust your split based on market conditions, though I don't recommend trying to time the market because you're definitely not smart enough for that. No offense, but actually yes offense. The key is to actually do something instead of being paralyzed by analysis. The worst strategy is leaving that extra $1,000 in checking and spending it on garbage because you couldn't decide between the two good options. Perfect is the enemy of good, Morty, and good is the enemy of doing literally anything at all, which is where most people end up. And look, in any scenario where you're consistently saving and investing $1,000 a month extra, you're gonna be fine. You're already ahead of like 80% of the population who live paycheck to paycheck and have negative net worth. Whether you end up with 2.3 million or 2.5 million in 30 years, you're still a multimillionaire. The difference is not gonna fundamentally change your life as much as you think. What matters is building wealth consistently over time, avoiding catastrophic mistakes like panic selling or taking out home equity loans for stupid purchases, and actually having a plan instead of just hoping everything works out. Hope is not a strategy, Morty. Hope is what people do when they don't understand probability. So stop asking which strategy is universally better because there isn't one. Stop looking for the one true path that works for everyone because personal finance is personal and anyone who tells you otherwise is selling something or doesn't understand statistics. Figure out what you actually want from your life. Run the numbers for your specific situation. Maybe talk to a fee-only fiduciary financial advisor who doesn't make commissions on products and make a decision that you can stick with for the long term. And for the love of science, Morty, start doing something instead of just thinking about it. Because time in the market and time saving on interest both beat timing the market or timing your prepayments. The best time to start was 10 years ago. The second best time is right now. And if you wait another year trying to optimize the perfect strategy, you've already lost more in opportunity cost than the difference between the strategies would have given you anyway. Now, can we please get back to actual important science instead of basic financial literacy that should have been taught in school but wasn't because the education system is designed to create compliant workers, not financially independent thinkers? I've got 17 dimensions that need my attention, and you've already wasted 43 minutes of my time on a question that ultimately boils down to just start saving money. You absolute walnut.